In this lesson, I am going to demonstrate the 7th grade threading sample. In order to get started, first of all, I should have already given you a 7th grade threading sample rubric, and you should have put your first and last name on it. The next thing that you should have picked up is 2 fleece squares and a circle. So in order to get started, follow the rubric to complete the assignment. The first thing you want to do is take the 2 squares, take one edge, make sure that the edges are even, and pin with 3 of the larger pins. These are quilting pins. They work better for thicker fabric. Now, the next thing you want to do is thread your sewing machine. Please thread your sewing machine as you've been practicing with a different colored bobbin as spool of thread. Make sure that it is threaded correctly. If you're not sure, sew on a scrap of fabric to verify, double check that, and do make sure that you have a pair of scissors here for fishing your bobbin out and for cutting threads. Next step. We are going to sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance. The reason why we're sewing a 1/2 inch seam allowance is because that's what you will be sewing on your pillow project. So I'm going to turn the machine on and I'm going to look for a 1/2 inch. Now, on the throw plate, the guides say 4/8, 5/8, 6/8. And as you know in math, 4/8 is simplified to a 1/2 inch. So you will be lining it up with the 4/8 inch line. So put the edge of your fabric along the 4/8, and just so you know, at times you may have to lift your presser foot up even a little bit more because of the thick fabric. Now, we're going to start about 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch down from the edge of the fabric and go in reverse first. So, I put my presser foot down. I'm going to use the reverse button, turn my hand wheel towards me till I get back to the beginning of the fabric, or 3 stitches. Okay, now I'm going to begin sewing, staying along the 1/2 inch seam allowance. Before you get to the pin, before you get over it, stop, take out 1 pin only, put it on your magnet. Stop, leave your presser foot down, take out the next pin, put it on your magnet. Stop, take out your next pin, and you're going to sew to the edge of the fabric. When you get to the edge of the fabric, do 3 in reverse. 1, 2, 3, and 3 forward. 1, 2, 3. Stop with your take-up lever all the way up. Raise your presser foot. Pull your fabric out. Trim your threads at the end of your stitching. Trim your threads at the beginning of your stitching. And if you notice here the fabric isn't quite even, don't be concerned. We can always work with that later on your project. Now, the next thing you want to do is open your fabric up on the right side, so that would be on the side where your seam is not. You want to take the circle and pin it to 1 layer. Now this time you can just use regular pins, but you do, the secret to sewing pieces of felt to other pieces of felt is to pin with enough pins. If you don't pin now with enough pins, or your project with enough pins, it will push the 2 layers and eventually it would bunch up. So for anything, taking the time ahead of time to pin saves you time later from seam ripping or your project not looking very nice. Okay, so now we're ready to start sewing. Now, of course, with your project, you would be sewing with the same color thread. We are sewing with whatever color thread you have in. So, we're going to start sewing with the edge of the presser foot along the edge of the circle, okay? This is a small circle, so take your time. And as you come to a pin, you're going to take it out. And you're going to make a knot when you come back around the circle. Take that first pin out. Watch your fingers because there's a lot of pins in there, so be careful. Don't jab your finger. Continue on. Again, if you need to curve a little bit, you can pivot, so make sure your needle is not in. Just move your presser foot just a little bit to make sure that you're staying on the edge of the circle. Take out the pin. Take out the pin. When you come back to where you started, make a knot, 3 in reverse, 1, 2, 3, and 3 forward, 1, 2, 3. Stop with your take-up lever all the way up. Pull your fabric out. Now, when you did this, you're going to have 2 threads on the top and 2 threads on the bottom to trim. So make sure you do trim those threads. Smooth out your circle. Now you would take your rubric, staple it to any of the corner, make sure your fabric is open, and turn it in for a grade.